Hello to everybody out in Maryland's beautiful 8th Congressional District. It's your Congressman, Jamie Raskin, coming to you this Friday, February 16th for my favorite time in the week, Local Hero, when we get to salute and interact with the people that make life here so wonderful and so rich. Our local hero this week is Kenneth M. Smith. Mr. Smith is a national board certified teacher, Montgomery County's Washington Post Teacher of the Year from 2018, and he is a Blair High School Social Studies hip hop and culture teacher, and he helped develop and teach the DMV region's first hip hop history and culture course at Montgomery Blair High School. And in this course, he engages students by connecting the popular music genre to social and political issues teenagers experience and can relate to. This course is now also offered at BCC and at Rockville High Schools. He serves on the leadership team for the Bond Project, Building Our Network of Diversity, which is an initiative focused on increasing the hiring, development, and retention of male teachers of color. Mr. Smith was recently recognized by the Montgomery County Council as part of their 2024 Black History Month commemoration, and I'm delighted to be able to introduce him to all of you and to call you, Mr. Smith, our local hero this week.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor and it's a pleasure. And, I'm so pleased that you do this. So thank you very much.
Well, we're very psyched to have you here. And tell us a bit about, if you would give us a quick recap of kind of the overall arc of the syllabus of your class. Like, what do you take them through? Is it historical mainly? Is it social? Is it musical? How do you do it?
It's all of those things. And the specific title of the course is Hip Hop History and Culture. And the inspiration for the title came from the museum that's downtown, the African American Museum of History and Culture. And the history and culture part is extremely important. I want people to understand that this is not a music class about rap music. It's about the development, the historical development of hip hop culture. So it's both sociological and it's historical. And what we talk about in the class, the 5 units, we start out with the history starting in the South Bronx in the 70s. And we learn things about structural racism, institutional racism and poverty, redlining, white flight, insurance fraud, all these things that sort of cultivated the environment in which hip hop was born. Then unit 2, we look at the development of the culture nationwide. So spreading from New York to the West Coast to the South, and we have to study the geography of the United States and how in different regions, there are different sort of subcultures within different regions. So that's actually anthropological. So we look at anthropology as well and how cultures develop over time. Then we move to the social justice unit, where we look at the fraught relationship between the Black community and law enforcement, or hip hop culture specifically in law enforcement. And we look at other social justice issues dealing with the criminal justice system. Then we look at women in hip hop, and then we end with entrepreneurship, which is really a unit on financial literacy, how to invest, how to save, but we do it through the lens of hip hop culture.
Well, that's remarkable. So you use it really as a window out into the world of all of the social, political, economic, business forces that enter into the world of hip hop.
Absolutely. I always call it a Trojan horse. So the kids come in thinking they're getting one thing, but they're actually getting a social analysis of American society, of contemporary American society.
Now, I wonder how difficult it was for you to actually introduce this course into the Montgomery County Public Schools. I remember when I was in college and somebody taught a course about rock and roll. This is back in the 80s. And that was considered totally radical. And everybody was laughing like, oh, that can't be a real course because rock and roll, that's now. I mean, nobody really says that about a course in classical music because that's ancient, right? That's historical. But there's some suspicion about a course that's too contemporary, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great question. And, hip hop culture has always faced social and political headwinds. It still does to this very day. And even though it was once underground, it has now become the dominant part of pop culture. That said, while it's out there in the world, while it's taught in many universities and colleges, high schools, this is one of the few in the country that is dedicated to just hip hop culture. And so to get the class introduced, actually, Congressman Raskin, It wasn't as difficult as I thought because I did have allies at different levels that understood that this class was about equity. This class was about teaching US history through a different lens. And so, what hip hop culture did for me, becoming a critical thinker, I wanted to do this for our students today.
Well, that is just really extraordinary. I hope you don't give short shrift to the musical dimension. There must be some kids in your classes who want to be in hip hop, right? Or are already performing or in groups. Is that right? I mean,
Absolutely. We have students that, which is not my wheelhouse, that produce their own music, both as rappers, both as musical producers. A couple have albums on Spotify. So when that happens, I allow them to teach part of the course. So there's a relationship here where I try to transfer some of that power to students because they don't come into the class as empty vessels. So I sit and I take the seat as students. And I had a student teach us how to produce, how to find samples, because I don't do that. But many of my students, they don't just listen to rap music, they live the culture of hip hop. And so I allow them to bring their expertise into the classroom and we learn together. It's a reciprocal process. It's not me, the sage on the stage. I'm more the guide on the side, and I allow them to teach everyone. So I do have students in there that are actually doing hip hop and not just listening to rap music, which is only one part of hip hop culture.
I just received these two extraordinary books from an artist you may have heard of or you might know named Shepard Fairey, who made the Obama Hope poster. But he started doing a lot of stickers and posters related to punk rock music. And then that kind of morphed into the world of hip hop for him. So I'll share it with you. He just made some posters for a political project I do called Democracy Summer
Oh, that would
with
be
young
great.
people. And then he sent me these books. Well, look, I understand, Mr. Smith, you're working not just with students, but also with teachers. And tell me about your teacher leadership project that you've got.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. So that is a passion of mine. And teacher leadership for me is I love the classroom, love being in the classroom, never had a desire to go into administration. And for me, teacher leadership is about keeping one leg in the classroom, but also doing things outside of the classroom where teachers can exert their power in different ways. So you talked about the bond project that I'm involved with, which is building our network of diversity, which we work to recruit, retain, and train men of color to get into education, especially the classroom. Another group that I work with is the Minority Scholars Program, and where we teach students of color or students that tend to be marginalized traditionally in education how to advocate for themselves, how to find their voice, and to use their agency to take higher level classes, but also to become more involved in the educational process. And so also with national board teachers, teaching them how to teach in a more equitable fashion, geared towards social justice. So while I still have one leg in the classroom, developing a curriculum like hip hop history and culture, I also believe it's important that teachers should use their power and leverage it outside of the classroom because we still are on the front lines. We understand our students intimately, and we need our voices at the policy level, but also trying to help those come into the profession to be the best educators that we can be. And so the teacher leadership piece is very important to me.
Well, that is absolutely the truth. And I resonate a lot with what you're saying about the fundamental importance of teachers being active participants in our communal life, in our political life, our social life. And
Absolutely.
um, thank you for modeling that. Thank you for bringing along not just new generations of students, but new generations of teachers. And thank you for your visionary leadership in terms of the curriculum. It must be such a thrill for your students. I'm sure your classes are like doubly oversubscribed every time. But for all these reasons, Kenneth Smith, you are a local hero this week, and we're very proud of everything you're doing.
Well, thank you for your leadership, Congressman Raskin. And you know, you're always part of the Blair family. We're cheering you on. Keep doing your thing because you definitely epitomize leadership, and we appreciate that. So thank you.